Hey guys, it's Marcus from Perspective Sports, and today we are going to review the very first college football playoff ranking of the 2016-2017 season. The rankings were pretty good in my opinion, and once again the committee putting a lot of weight on strength of schedule. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Let's take a look at numbers 25 through 21. As you can see, it's Washington State, Boise State, Western Michigan, Florida State, and North Carolina. And based on the group of five bowl bid, it's a race between two Broncos. The Broncos of Western Michigan, who burst onto the scene this season, and the familiar Broncos of Boise State, who I think have not only been saved by their non-conference strength of schedule, which ranks 22nd in the nation, playing and beating number 25 Washington State, Oregon State, and BYU, but also by Western Michigan's extremely weak overall schedule that ranks way down there at number 75. In the long run, I believe a one-loss Boise State team will get the nod over unbeaten WMU if Boise State can win the Mountain West Conference and do it convincingly. Overall, it's going to be a fun race to watch between these two teams to see who gets the New Year's Six bowl game bid. No, who knows? We may even see two Group of Five teams get in, although very unlikely. Now for 20 through 16. These teams here are West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Utah. And as you can see, three of the four ranked Big 12 teams, West Virginia, Baylor, Oklahoma State, teams fall into the 20 to 16 range. All of these teams are appropriately ranked, but if it were up to me, I'd flip West Virginia and Virginia Tech. But that's about it. Up next, we have 15 through 11. The teams here are Colorado, Oklahoma, the other Big 12 team, LSU, Penn State, and Florida. Colorado has really surprised this year, playing the 11th toughest schedule in the NCAA and are standing at 6-2. But the next four games are all tests because you can't count out UCLA despite struggling, then traveling to Arizona before finishing off the regular season with two home games against very tough teams, number 25 in the country, Washington State, and number 16, Utah. Oklahoma, who I think is a little high on the list because they haven't beat anyone yet. They still have a home game against number 17 Baylor, number 18 Oklahoma State, and away at number 20 West Virginia. If they can go through all these teams unscathed, I'll definitely see them being a top 7 team come December. Penn State is really putting it together when it counts, and that's late in the season after struggling early with a bad loss to Pitt and getting absolutely obliterated by Michigan by a score of 49-10. Penn State handed Ohio State its first loss, and Ohio State seemed to be unbeatable at the time. Look out for Penn State to make a case to be in a New Year's Six bowl game. Now for the top 10 with numbers 6 through 10. The teams here are Nebraska, Auburn, Wisconsin, Louisville, and Ohio State. I personally feel as if Nebraska is ranked too low with their sole loss coming from the number 8 team in the country, Wisconsin. I personally would put them at number 9 over Auburn, not because they have two losses, because their losses were to high-quality teams, but Nebraska is just a better team overall. Everything else is fine from 10 to 6. And for the top 5. The top 5 is what really surprised me throughout the whole selection show. The teams here are Washington, Texas A&M, Michigan, Clemson, and Alabama. And the part that really surprised me was that Washington, who was 8-0, being placed at number 5 behind a 7-1 Texas A&M Aggie team. And this is where the committee once again puts emphasis on a team's strength of schedule. And Texas A&M clocks in at number 7 overall versus Washington, who's substantially farther down at number 38 in the nation. With Texas A&M still having to play Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and LSU before the season's end, Washington has to just survive and hope A&M slips up in one of the next 4 games to get into their first college football playoff. As for the rest of the rankings, it's perfect. Michigan has looked amazing, as well as Clemson, who has survived a gauntlet of a schedule, and Alabama being, in my opinion, one of the greatest teams of all time, led by the best coach of all time, Nick Saban, with all due respect to Bear Bryant. Alabama will steamroll everyone unfortunately put in their way, and I have Alabama winning the championship no matter who's in the top 4 and in the college football playoff. Well, there you guys have it. I hope you enjoyed it. These are my reviews of the college football playoff. Overall, I think it's a very well put together ranking, and I didn't have too much to complain about other than, flipping teams here and there. And the committee once again putting emphasis on strength of schedule.